Welcome, Human Sexuality. Back to the module on sexual difficulties and sexual satisfaction. This little bit that we're going to do today is not in your textbook, but it is an important part of, it gives you a kind of insight into the kinds of questions that sexual therapists might be using when they evaluate sexual problems. Now, not every therapist will use this particular thing that I'm going to teach you, but they are kind of asking questions that are designed to find out, well, what's the source of the problem? Just like we said in the welcome video, not everything is treatable by taking a pill, and not everything should be treated like that. So how would you, if you were a therapist, assess the kinds of problems that your clients are experiencing? And here's just sort of a basic little exercise that I think gives you an idea as to the many layers, which is why I included here. Are you sitting comfortably? And then we'll begin. So what I'm presenting to you today is the three-dimensional model of evaluating a sexual problem. It's one that looks at any sexual complaint or any client's complaint, I suppose, in terms of duration, context, and frequency. And let me break this down for you. So when we're thinking about duration, the question is, whatever the presenting problem is it one that's always existed? Like, I've never been able to have orgasm, then it's primary. Primary means it's always existed. Or is it secondary, something that's happening now but hasn't always happened in the past? Or it's happened now, happened once in the past, but not always in the past. In that case, it's secondary. So something that, I had a problem with this as a teenager and I'm having a problem again, that would be secondary. Or I'm having a problem now, but I didn't have a problem then, still secondary. So now we go from the temporal dimension to the contextual dimension. So what's the context? What's the setting? Does the problem occur in all sexual settings or only specific sexual settings? So does it occur, so I have difficulty getting an erection even when I'm alone or with a partner. No matter what I'm doing, I still have difficulty getting an erection. Then it's global. If it only happens in certain sexual settings and not others, then it's situational. So if I can get an erection during masturbation, but I can't do it when I'm with my partner, it's situational. Or I can get it while I'm watching porn, but I can't do it when I'm masturbating. Situational. So global means it happens across all sexual settings, and situational means it happens in specific sexual settings only. And then the final dimension to our three-dimensional model is frequency. Does it happen every time in a given sexual setting or only some of the time in a given sexual setting? So every time I'm with my partner, do I fail to achieve orgasm, or only sometimes? If it's every time in every sexual setting, like when we're making love on the weekends, or we're having a quickie after work, when we're if it's every time in every sexual setting, in a given sexual setting, I mean, then it's total. So frequency is different than context. Context is, does it occur in all sexual settings? Like, does it occur when I masturbate? Does it occur when I'm with others? Does it occur when I'm watching porn? Does it occur when I fantasize? And frequency is within those given sexual settings. How frequently does it occur? Does it always occur when I'm with my partner, or only sometimes when I'm with my partner? Does it always occur when I masturbate, or only sometimes when I masturbate? Do you get what I'm saying? So if it's always occurring every time I'm in that situation or sexual setting, then it's total. That's far less common than partial, where it occurs often enough to cause distress, but not on every occasion in that particular setting. Only sometimes when I'm with my partner do I experience pain while having intercourse. Not every time I'm with my partner. Only sometimes when I masturbate does it take me a long, long time to reach orgasm. But then other times I masturbate, it doesn't. Right? That's partial. So how often within a given sexual setting does it happen? Does it happen every time? Total. Does it happen sometimes? Partial. So I know you're thinking, wait a minute, this is a lot to take in. So now I'm going to bring you into the counseling theater. I think they call them just rooms, not theaters, and give you the chance to become the sex therapist. Now, just so you know, I don't give you any other authority outside this course, and you shouldn't practice this with friends. But it just gives you an idea. Hopefully this exercise will give you a sense for how to kind of feel or to understand how a sexual problem could have different dimensions and how to consider those different dimensions. And then when you think about it, when you're looking at those dimensions, that's going to say something perhaps about the cause or the source of the problem. So for instance, if a sexual problem has always existed and occurs in every sexual setting and occurs every time in each sexual setting, that is if it's primary, global, and total, then maybe it's not your setting or what you're doing. Maybe there's a physiological problem that you've had since birth, right? But if it is a new problem, or it only occurs in some sexual settings, or it only occurs sometimes within a sexual setting, that gives you a whole new set of parameters to consider what the source of the problem might be. And you're like, I think I have this. Do I really have this? Well, there's one way to find out. You can pause the program if you want to and make a little table here. I have scribbled the answers on your hand, but I don't think that's going to work. Make a little table, and I'm going to introduce you to 4 patients. I should have called them clients, but they're patients now. And I'm going to present you with their problem, and you're going to decide for each client whether what the duration of the problem is, whether it's primary or secondary, what the context of the problem is, and what the frequency of the problem is. And we'll do the first one together, and then I'll leave you to do the next 3. And don't worry, I have the answer slide in the reading guide PowerPoint. So hopefully by the time you've gone through this exercise, the nice part is you can do it twice here, you'll have a really good sense of how these particular dimensions help us understand sexual problems. If you're struggling with this or having problems, let me know. Email me if you need to. We can do a Skype or come and see me, but make sure you have this straight in your minds, you know, especially considering when the next midterm comes up, or the final midterm, sorry. All right, are you ready? We're going to meet client A. So, client A is a 30-year-old woman who has never experienced an orgasm with or without a partner in any setting. So your job then is to figure out the duration, context, and frequency of client A's problem, or problem A if you want to look at it that way. So duration, is it something that's always existed, or is it occurring now but not present in the past? Or it occurs now and maybe in the past but not always. There's been times when it hasn't occurred. If it's always existed, then it's primary. If it's just occurring now but not in the past, it's secondary. So which do you think it is? Duration, primary or secondary? You can pause here if you need to. We're going to go on to the answer. Primary. Why? Because she's never experienced orgasm. With or without a partner, any setting doesn't matter. She's never experienced orgasm. So it's always existed, this problem. So the next question is context. Does it occur in all sexual settings or only specific sexual settings? So Can she orgasm when she's masturbating, but it's not with her partner? Or does it affect every context? So again, if it's global, it occurs in all sexual settings. Alone, with a partner, during group sex, it's always a problem. Every sexual setting. If it's situational, it's present in specific settings only. It only happens when I'm having group sex with my friends. So what do you think? Global or situational? Dun, 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 dun. Global. Because it happens with or without a partner in any setting. So it's something that occurs in all sexual settings. Finally, looking at frequency. Within a given sexual setting, now probably we're thinking if it's primary and global, we've got a pattern happening here, but if it's frequency within a given sexual setting, does it occur every time or just sometimes? So every time you're alone and masturbating, does it occur every time or just sometimes? Like when I do it after work, it's not good. But when I do it when I'm watching Price is Right, works every time. When I'm alone, masturbating. Let's say that again. Frequency. In any given sexual setting, does it happen every time? Every time I masturbate, I have difficulty orgasming. So when I'm alone, when I'm at work, I don't know where you masturbate, but when I'm watching Price is Right. If so, it's total. If it only happens when you're watching Price is Right, then it's partial. And the problem might be Drew Carey, the host of Price is Right. See how this works? All right. So, what do you think? Total or partial? Total. Why? Because it happens every time. She's never experienced an orgasm with or without a partner in any setting, ever. So it's total. Does this kind of make sense? You can follow this now? So the next person you're going to meet, having dealt successfully with client A, is client B. Client B is a 40-year-old man who has had erections in the past and is now completely unable to achieve an erection in any setting. So duration, is this a problem that's always existed, which would make it primary, or is it one that's occurring now but hasn't been present in the past, which would make it secondary? I'm not going to tell you this one. You have to go to the other set of the other PowerPoint to get the answers. But try and figure out, you at home, try and figure this out yourselves as you go along. Context. Does it occur in all sexual settings or only in certain situations? It only happens when I meet with my group to have group sex during Tuesday evenings, right? Then it would be situational. And then finally, frequency. Within a given sexual setting, does it happen every time or just some of the time or even most of the time? Even most of the time would still be partial. All right. I'll give you a second or two to figure this out. Now I'm going on to the next client. Patient or client C is a 25-year-old woman who finds that she often, but not always, oh, this one's going to be tricky, eh? Fails to reach orgasm during lovemaking with her partner. This has not been a problem for her with past partners, and she is fully capable of orgasm through masturbation. Duration. Is this a problem that's always existed, or is it one that's occurring now but not in the past? Context. Does this occur in all sexual settings or only in specific sexual settings? Finally, frequency. Does this happen every time in a sexual setting or only sometimes or most times or a few times? You decide. Oh, by the way, you're not getting paid for these therapy sessions, just so you know. All right, moving on to our final client. A 45-year-old woman finds that she rarely achieves orgasm regardless of the sexual setting. This has not been a problem for her in the past. So duration, has it always existed, or is it a new problem? Context, does it happen in all sexual settings or some sexual settings? And within a sexual sex setting, frequency. Does it happen every time or only part of the time? Okie dokie. Now, probably get an idea that depending on how you answer these questions, this gives us a hint as to, this gives an idea as to the sources of the problem. So even though a problem that's primary duration, it's always existed, occurs in every sexual setting, every time, is probably something, well, I mean, it may be physiological. Sometimes we treat those problems the same as a problem that's secondary in duration, happens only when I'm with my partner, and happens most of the time, but not every time, right? Is Viagra the cure in all these situations? No, of course not. It just treats a symptom. So in order to understand the situation better, even if they don't use the method quite the way we've used it here, most sexual therapists consider these three primary aspects in order to help them figure out how best to help their clients. So I just don't know if you read the little bottom down here while I was talking, the little hint thing, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. When I spend a lot of time and attention on something like this, it's possible, maybe likely, maybe for sure, maybe I already know it's there, that you might receive a question like this on the final exam. So you'd be prepared to say, you know, what the duration was and then why. You'll see when you see the answer slide. Well, that's all for now, folks. Hope you enjoyed this exercise and it was informative for you and helps you better understand this module.